Yeah, I just stopped this. Okay, great.
Okay,
I see now we are
start then?
recording, so the floor for you, Lynn.
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. For me, it's an immense honor and a true pleasure to introduce you to my beloved colleague, Cristina Beans. She's a senior project manager in our office, the Institutional Project Management Office at the University of Alicante. Cristina has been working for more than 10 years in capacity building in higher education projects. They are usually focusing on student employability, entrepreneurship, and social innovation, as well as research, training, and management. She's also been working in curriculum development and climate change and sustainable campuses. She's, by training, a marine biologist and also oceanographist. And she also holds a master's in project management, MBA, actually, one of those, and she also holds a master's degree in history of science and science communication. She's going to introduce us today to the amazing work that they are doing in Senegal, empowering women in research through the Erasmus Plus capacity building higher education project Elevate Her. This is one of the many examples in which Cristina is putting to work her amazing skills as project manager and implementing projects around the world. This is not at all her first experience in Africa, but I think this is actually a recent but also nice one. So it is a pleasure to pass the floor to her. Thank you so much, Cristina.
Thank you so much, Ellen. The challenge of having a colleague introduce you and a friend is that afterwards you start blushing because of all the wonderful things she says about you. It's a good thing she doesn't know where all the skeletons are buried. Well, thank you very much, Ellen, for the lovely introduction, and Tamer for inviting me to participate in this workshop or webinar series. Very happy to share our experience in this project and to talk a little bit about the work that we're doing at the University of Alicante to support women in STEM in different parts of the world, particularly sub-Saharan Africa. So if I may, I'm going to start by sharing my screen. Get straight into the... All right. You're going to see yourselves there for a second until I go full screen. All right. So, okay, so I'm not very familiar with Teams. I cannot see you guys anymore. Can you please confirm that you can see my screen okay? The PowerPoint?
I can't see it.
No? It should have been sharing, but we stopped sharing. Hold on. That's because for some reason the thingy decided to stop sharing. Sí, pero la pantalla 1, que es donde va a estar el PowerPoint. O sea, sí, es lo que he hecho antes, pero el chisme ha dejado de... This is where I say, I don't like it. All right, so I did exactly the same thing. Can you see it this time?
Nothing yet.
Not yet.
No.
Not yet.
Try the screen now.
All right, try again. Yeah, whenever I go for full screen, hold on, I'm gonna have to do a quick swap here. Whenever I go for full screen, it basically stops sharing. Oh, yeah, what can I say, guys? This wouldn't be technology if it so la ventana.
Yes.
A ver, el problema es que cuando pase a pantalla completa.
Maybe now.
No, but stop sharing it. It's not letting me share my screen at all. The moment I start, it stops. Mira,
If you try and share it on non-full screen, does it work?
yeah, no, it's the moment so I'm clicking share screen, clicking a window, for example. I click on share. It says Microsoft Teams is sharing a screen.
Do you see her screen?
And then it stops sharing. It interrupts the sharing process. Grab your computer. This is it's in our drive. See if this is strange. I've actually never shared on Teams. I've always been what we might call the passive recipient of Teams meetings. When I organize them, I always use Zoom. So I've never tried sharing a screen on Teams. So I don't know if there's
Cristina,
yeah. So
do you
Ellen,
think you can share with me the presentation and I can share it from here, or Ellen can do it?
it's in Drive. Ellen is going to try to access it from her Drive on her computer. No, porque está en. Sofía, ¿le puedes mandar el enlace, por favor, a Ellen? So, while we work this out, I start by saying that yeah, so we're very happy to do this and to talk about this topic today, empowering women in STEAM. It is particularly interesting that it was happening this week, because yesterday, just in case you didn't know, was the International Day of Women and Girls in Science. So the timing is actually a big deal. And this is an initial post that we really want to promote, even with the University of Alicante. It's a priority issue within our university. Our rector was recently re-elected to her position, so she'll be rector from 2020 to 2030. So women are vice rector for international relations, for knowledge transfer as well, and it's a big priority for us supporting the careers of women in research. And the University of Alicante and Spain have also a part of our big development priorities, collaborating with Sub-Saharan Africa. So the University of Alicante has a long story, a history tradition over 20 years now of developing capacity building projects and working with universities around the world. And in the current EU framework program, the priority has been set on Sub-Saharan Africa. And so a lot of our focus as well at the University of Alicante has been developed on there, towards there. And the project we're going to discuss and present is aligned with these two priorities: the EU's focus on supporting the development of Sub-Saharan Africa, and this priority that we have of helping women develop their careers in science, joined to the fact that at the moment, Senegal is a priority partner for Spain itself. So there's a bit of the context. Ellen, have you managed to get in?
I'm not, just give me 1 second, because I will see it in the folders. And do you know the folder? Because Sophia has sent it to me, but it has never arrived.
Sí, es el Work Package Enhance,
Okay.
en el 6.1 es,
Okay, yes, enhance. Yes.
and the PowerPoint's there.
Okay, so excellent. Yes. So I will start, sure, it's in the process of opening.
Okay, let's see if it can share, then I will just switch over to your computer, and then later you can come and sit on my computer. It wouldn't be a live session, a true live session, if there wasn't some technical difficulty, would it?
I think you're seeing it now.
Yeah, I'm seeing it now, so I'm gonna cut
Yep,
off my,
that's up.
I'm gonna cut off my mic and my camera and move over to Ellen's spot. One second.
It's working, yeah.
Yours.
Oh, you'll have to
Yeah, I will.
silence mine. Okay. Are we good? All right. Yes, that's mute. Okay. No, not yet. Está el botón de mute.
Está mute, pero no mute.
Ahora sí. No, espera. Sorry, guys. 1 second. No, okay. So just to confirm, can you confirm that you can hear me and see me okay?
Yep, can hear and see
Yep.
it okay.
All right, let's try this again. So again, thank you very much for the welcome, for joining in, those who are watching live, and for those who are watching the recording afterwards. My name is Cristina Beans. I'm here at the University of Alicante, and I'm going to talk about empowering women in STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and maths, advancing careers and building sustainable futures with a focus on the work we're doing in sub-Saharan Africa. So as I've mentioned just a bit earlier, the timing is perfect and appropriate because yesterday was the 10th anniversary of the UNESCO's declaration of February 11th as the International Day of Women and Girls in Science. And this is, well, it's an event that we celebrate very much at the University of Alicante, going further and further. This is just a couple of screenshots of the numerous activities that you can see that we've been developing on our campus all week, going from roundtables to courses to movie watching and having events going everything from sociology to engineering. So it's, as I mentioned, it's something that's very important for us at the University of Alicante to support the development of women's careers in research in the universities and particularly in the STEM areas. But one might ask why, especially in this era where we have some people talking about reducing diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, not to name names, why is it important to have these efforts to support women? Well, basically because there aren't enough women in the STEM fields, in science. They're not reaching parity. From these results of a UNESCO study published in 2023, only 1 in 3 researchers is a woman. Less than 25% of global jobs in science, engineering, or ICT are held by women. Inventors' patents, barely 17% of them are held by women. And women are 2 times less likely than men to know how to write a computer program. And this has nothing to do with women's ability, lack of ability, or anything to do this. Women, I mean, I'm not going to go into the science, the where, how. Everybody is as good as anybody else in developing a career. It's just that there's numerous barriers that women face starting in young childhood, to be a lack of encouragement, a lack of support to develop careers in STEM. And even in Europe, where we've been doing a lot of progress and working towards this for quite a while now, in barely 41% of scientists and engineers in the EU were women. This is in 2022. And this, you could say, oh, well, 41%, we're almost at parity. Not that bad compared to the global scale. But still, there's a huge change in these percentages, in the numbers, as we look in European countries or even regions. You can see that there are some areas in Europe, like Norway, Denmark, some parts of Spain or Poland, where, great, over 50% of the scientists and engineers are women. But then you've got areas like the center of France, Sweden, northern Italy, Germany, where it's less than 35%. So even within Europe, we've got a long ways to go to support women, to encourage them and support their development of their careers in scientists and engineers. well, you can imagine that if the situation like this is like this in Europe, where for decades we've been promoting girls in science and STEM and looking to remove gender barriers and support this, well, you can imagine that in other parts of the world, the situation is even worse. So, for example, Sub-Saharan Africa. This is some data that came out of a study done here at the University of Alicante a couple of years ago. The figure at the left, you've got the top 20 countries in Africa, going from the highest percentage to the lowest percentage of graduates in science, technology, engineering, and math. So you go from Algeria, leading the African continent, with 58% of the women graduating in STEM in 2018, going down to this top 20 of Mauritania with barely, not even 30%. And in 2022, from this same study that came from this Africa Mundi website, barely in Sub-Saharan Africa, only between 18 and 31% of researchers were women, compared to almost 49% in Europe, in Southeastern Europe or the Caribbean. At the University of Alicante, a group of researchers led by our Vice Rectorate for International Relations led a study in 2022 that showed that in Sub-Saharan Africa, young women are over 1.5 times less likely than young men to be formally employed or undergo education and training to a certain level, and that women make up only 24% of academic staff and only 2.5% of university vice presidents. So you've already that the lessening proportion of women is going as you reach the higher levels of university management and responsibility. So with this framework and these results in mind, our university organized just over 2 years ago a workshop, a special workshop on African women called Challenges on Women's Leadership in Higher Education and Research Institutions in Sub-Saharan Africa. The purpose of the workshop was to identify the needs, strengths, and weaknesses that women face in Sub-Saharan Africa for research and leadership positions, and to design and implement activities that could promote collaborations between the University of Alicante and these institutions in Sub-Saharan Africa from a gender policy perspective, to see what can we do to help, working together to see what we can design. In this workshop, there participated 10 women with relevant roles from management of academic and research institutions from Benin, Cameroon, Gambia, Ghana, Equatorial Guinea, Mauritania, Mozambique, Nigeria, Senegal, and Tanzania, plus 9 researchers from Ghana, Nigeria, who were at the time in Spain doing academic stays financed by a foundation in Spain called Women for Africa. So out of this workshop, out of these discussions, the University of Alicante created our program, Sub-Saharan Africa Women Researchers Program. So this is promoted by our Office of the Vice President for International Relations and Development Cooperation, with the support of our regional government, the Valencian government. And what this program does is provide grants for women researchers who either are in their pre-doctoral or postdoctoral phase and are citizens of one of the countries that is defined in the call. And so these are women who need to complete their training either for their PhDs or for postdocs, allow them to do short-term research stays at the University of Alicante, so hosted by a research team of the University of Alicante to help them develop their PhD or their research. The first call we had was in February 2023. So 2 years ago now. It was a huge success, 161 applications. Out of these, 70 were validated and 13 grants were provided. These offered for stays of between 1 to 3 months that took place between May and July 2023. Out of the second call that took place last year, one of the things after analyzing the call and the experience was that these stays were too short. So the present call is actually going to be calling for longer stays. The results that we've had out of these first 2 years of calls was that there have been 12 collaborations that have been consolidated, so are continuing in research and experimental and social sciences. 25 women have received grants in this program from Nigeria, Benin, Kenya, Cameroon, Ghana, the Ivory Coast, Senegal, and Ethiopia. And also, this program, the University of Alicante, have received a reward from the national government for people in programs who are supporting gender equality policies. So for the moment, it's, like I said, it's been a very great success in the first 2 years, and we're continuing with it. So just a quick shout out. The fourth call, it was, as I said, we've had 3 before. The fourth call is currently published on our website. So if anybody watching this now or catching the recording later, the deadline is in just over 2 weeks. So looking forward to receiving more women here in Africa, in Alicante. So this leads into the work that I'm doing specifically, and we're leading from our office, Institutional Project Management Office. So as I mentioned before, the University of Alicante has over 20 years experience working in capacity building in higher education, working in projects with universities around the world. And as a result of this program that the university developed, the Sub-Saharan Africa Women Researchers Program, we decided to develop a specific project proposal for the Erasmus Plus Capacity Building in Higher Education call aimed at supporting women researchers in one country, in Senegal. When we're looking at the situation in Senegal, sorry, the graphs are a little bit fuzzy. This had to do with a switchover, but basically you can see the first one, the pie chart is showing the distribution of teaching and research staff by gender. You can see that women make up less than 25%, actually I think it was 15, of the teaching and academic staff in Senegal. As you must remember from the earlier graph when we were talking about Sub-Saharan Africa, Senegal didn't even make it in the top 20 of women graduates in STEM. If we look at management positions within the university, on the left, we've got general distribution of management positions in public universities in Senegal by gender. Blue, the men, red, the women. No need to look at the numbers, the detail. I mean, it's a bit fuzzy, but you can see there's a clear difference. We have one university where there's actually no women in any management positions. And in the figure on the right, when we look at senior management positions, at the time this research was done, when the project was prepared 2 years ago, there was only one university that had a rector and a woman rector. Only one that had a faculty, only one that had the assistant director of faculty. There were 19 head of departments, but you can see the contrast between the men and the women. Laboratory coordinators, 2 women versus 38 men. And then among the total interest. So this was a huge disparity in Senegal. And while this clearly identified need, plus our work to the project, meant the EU granted us our proposal. So what we came up with and what we're working on, this project, it's called, we go by acronyms. The official name is Female Research Empowerment and Academic Career Reinforcement in Senegal Higher Education. Nobody remembers the full title. It's Elevate Her. Our project is the Elevate Her project. So as I said, it's from the Erasmus Plus program, capacity building in field of higher education, what we call Strand 1 proposals. So these are for beginners institutions starting on internationalization, working on foundational elements of a university. It runs for 3 years. So it started, we're just right now starting our 2nd year, because it started in February of a year ago. We're working together with 4 public universities in Senegal. Whereas in Europe, we've got 2 universities, ourselves, the University of Alicante, the University of Jean Monnet in France, and a social innovation partner, La Shisha, La Société Théâtre in Barcelona, that has a lot of experience working in Sub-Saharan Africa and in local communities, working through theater and training to train women and help them, well, raise awareness and skills development. So what we want to do in this project in general, overall, is we're aiming to support the career development of female researchers so that in the long term, we can contribute to sustainable growth and jobs in Senegal. I mean, you're not going to progress much in research as a country and an industry if half of your potential workforce isn't fully participating in it. So we need to support female development of female careers. So in order to achieve this, to get the ball rolling on this point, within the framework of the project and within our 3 years, what we're going to be doing is empowering female academics and research professionals by providing them with training on soft skills, digital skills, research skills that are relevant to research. And we're going to develop a mentoring program. So to really provide them with tailor-made mentoring sessions to help a group of women really develop their career. But we can't stop there. Just working with one cohort, one group of women in over 3 years isn't going to have a long-term impact. So we're also working with the institutions to develop new capacities, new tools that are going to help increase the visibility of female researchers in Senegal, increase their access, support women actually staying in research careers in university by working with these universities to develop institutional and individual career development plans. So we're working with the universities to help them design a system that's going to stay in place so that they will continue providing support and helping their women researchers have a more sustainable career in the universities. So mostly we're working with female researchers, academic staff, and the management staff. This also has a spillover effect on policymakers, undergraduate students who benefit from the people we're working with as a knock-on effect. And well, the project is organized just like any other capacity building project. It's organized in a series of work packages to also help our colleagues develop their leadership skills and ensure ownership of the project. All the work packages have been a dual leadership role with partners from Africa, from Europe, several partners in Africa, leading work packages and activities to really ensure that the actions and everything we developed does reflect the actual needs and perspectives of the women in Senegal. So I just want to say a few words about some of the main work we're doing or going to be doing. So we started out last year and we're in the process of wrapping up a bit more of an analysis of the current situation in Senegal. So our colleagues developed a full survey that was spread out to as many women as they could reach who were female researchers, professors in their universities, to be able to analyze their situation of their careers, identify areas of improvement, identify the challenges they faced. They're also working to map out the stakeholders in the research system, and we've defined, through the results of this analysis, we've defined the needs for training and mentorship that female researchers in Senegal require. So these results will be published soon in a report, tentatively titled Challenges and Opportunities for Career Development Programs for Female Researchers in Senegalese Universities. And so this will be out soon on our website. We're in the polishing phase. We also have training. Is the main thing, like in any capacity building project, we've got a big training program. So with the needs analysis that we did, and based on discussions with our partners and the events we had at the kickoff meeting in Alicante discussing the needs of women, we developed a full-on training program addressing things like digital competencies, soft skills, especially linked to leadership. Competencies, we're going to be looking at drafting of research proposals, getting grants, managing grants, science communication, conferences, research. So organized over three workshop series that we developed with blended training online and in person. And this is actually going to be supplemented by a webinar series that we'll be launching this spring, called Her Story, which will be showcasing the careers of women researchers from around the globe. To continue, well, we want to give visibility and increase to the stories of women in science and research, to showcase the challenges and the successes they've had, and also provide this opportunity for women to learn from other women. Then we've just started now in January, working to design our institutional career development program. So working with the universities to design this program that each university is going to set up to support female researchers in their institution. We're also going to be selecting mentors for the researchers that are going through the training programs and run a pilot mentorship program at each university. We're going to analyze this, see what's working, see how to promote it. So the results for this will be available at the end of the project. And finally, while we're doing what I'm doing here now with you, and is raising awareness, in making this issue a visible issue, getting people talking about it, discussing the idea of women in academia, women in STEM, and talking about the importance of supporting their career development. So we're going to be organizing also specific awareness raising events within the universities. We're having now in April, we're going to have a big national event in Senegal. We'll have one now, then another one in a year and a half. And we'll have ambassadors as well, women from each of the universities who participate in our mentorship program. We're going to go out and speak to other women in their universities, go to local schools, and do what we can to raise the profile of women researchers, and well, basically knock on the doors of the policymakers and say, hey, come on, you've got work to do. We've got wonderful women in Senegal. We can really develop the research more, and women need to be supported. They have particular situations that have to be taken into account, and we need to work on that. So that's basically what we're going to be doing over these 3 years. Right now, as I said, we've just completed our first year. We launched the project quite successfully in May last year. We had a big roundtable discussing challenges of women in science, both women in Spain, in Senegal, and France, in different countries. And we've held our first training workshop in Saint Louis I was going to say last month, but we're already in February, so 2 months ago in December. Where we had we were looking, it was a workshop aimed at leadership, development of leadership skills. We were analyzing the different opportunities in the academic life of a woman, starting from an undergraduate student, graduate, doctoral, postdoctoral, and as an academic, on how can women, what opportunities do they have to develop leadership skills, and how can universities improve those opportunities or develop them where they're working. So it was wonderful workshops. We also got to visit and discuss with women entrepreneurs in a salt production area and talk about collaborations between the universities and these women entrepreneurs. It was a wonderful event. Everybody learned a lot. Those of us came from Europe, the ones who were there. We were all very happy with it. And we're like, okay, when's the next one? Well, the next one's in April. We'll be talking about research grants and financing research and how to get research and so on. And with that, I just want to wrap up reminding you that the world needs science development, innovation, and science needs women. We're not going to develop and find innovative solutions to the challenges we're facing of climate change, poverty, illnesses, with half of our potential workforce hobbled with their hands tied behind their back. It has to be inclusive. We have to provide the opportunities, we have to support, and we have to inspire young women to go for a career in science. So thank you very much for joining in, for listening. I'm here if you've got any questions. You can also reach us online. And of course, please check out our website and follow us on social media. And we're on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. Well, we've got YouTube, but it's more of a storage space right now. But just please follow us and hear about what we're going. And so we will let you know when we publish results on the project, on the website. And especially if you're interested in joining in our webinar series, which we hope to be launching, I think, in April. So thank you very much. I'm going to stop sharing now.
Well, I think Elaine will take care here, or maybe she's not here.
Ellen?
Yeah.
Yes, I don't know if you can hear me. I'm here. Thank you so much,
Yes.
Cristina. You will see that I have her computer, but it's still it's still Ellen speaking now. Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much, Cristina, for this very interesting presentation about the work that you are doing in Elevate Her, and also how it links with the previous work done by the university, and how everything seems to come together at the perfect timing, right, when we need most. I'm not sure if Tamer or Piotr, do you have a question, maybe?
Actually, it's a word of thank you and a request. Word of thank you. I think I would like to thank you, Christine, very much for this deep presentation. And I think this is very clear how it's in synergy with Inspiring the Mind. Inspiring the Mind, we are looking at inclusivity and diversity in general, but you are looking in inclusivity and diversity in Senegal and in the STEM science. So this is clearly aligned. For the request, do you think, is it okay for you to, I think you have like a deadline for the Sub-Sahara call on the 28th of February. Do you think we can announce this on our channel to African colleagues?
Yes, of course. Please do. That's why I shared the link. I don't know if you managed to get a screen capture of the link or something, or otherwise I can send it to you via email. We can send you the link
Yes,
to
please. Yeah, it will be
to
great
the
because
website.
you know, in Inspiring the Mind, we have this like task to make such opportunity more visible to our colleagues in general, and of course it's led by Alicante University, so which is partner on Inspiring the Mind. So I think this is good to like reach out to our colleagues in Africa and try to get more application in order to support them.
Yes, please do. And well, for the moment, we don't know how long the program is going to run. But the intention of the University of Alicante is to continue at least as long as the present team is in charge of the university. So theoretically, the next 6 years. Of course, this will depend on, you know, as contracts get renewed, partnerships get renewed with our regional government and other associations for the funding. But so even if 2 weeks is a very short period for somebody to put together a proposal now, but they could definitely try or at least figure out about the process. And I mean, I can't say 100% sure, but it's almost guaranteed that the call will be out again next year. So that way they can at least be aware and they would know where to go to look for the information for the following year. And I would point out that yes, that a difference that is taking place this year from what I've been told by our vice rector was that they have changed the duration of the grants. That they found that the short stays, 1 to 3 months, weren't really enough to advance much in the research. So they're going to be aiming for longer stays. But this, of course, will mean that there will be fewer grants provided because, of course, the cost of stay is higher. But yes, so the whole purpose of this is to integrate women researchers from Sub-Saharan Africa with teams in the University of Alicante. So the website has the instructions, but basically if I remember correctly, on the website, there will be a list of research teams that are participating, because it's not, obviously, it's not all the research teams of the University of Alicante, it's those who have agreed to join in and contribute. So researchers can go and try to identify a team that is aligned with their research and their rules. And if they don't find one this year, but they see that at the University of Alicante there is a team they would like to work with, they could also contact our Vice Rectorate for International Relations and say, hey, I would be interested, maybe for next year, could you see if they would be interested in joining or something like that?
Christina, I had one quick question, I guess, just a quick bit. My background is coming more from, I guess, the private sector. I work for a venture capital organization. So we're very interested in the entrepreneurship side of things. Some of what you talked about in Work Package 4, the entrepreneurial training, speaking with people with experience in entrepreneurship there. And I was wondering, sort of in the work that you've done, in the conversations you've been having, how the balance is between progressing within the world of research and moving into the world of entrepreneurship and applying that research to, I guess, commercial practical applications. In Senegal, is there a more of a drive towards progressing into entrepreneurship than staying within the world of research? Or is that also an area where there's sort of entrepreneurship and research are both struggling?
So yeah, we have the idea of working to develop also more entrepreneurship and going with knowledge transfer and spin-off to technical development. But as we were looking at the analysis and working with our partners, it became clear that they're not there yet.
Okay.
We're actually not going to be able to develop that activity enough because the training needs and identified at the level of other more levels of research support and grant, even just obtaining grants and funds. And because of the limited time we have, so we've actually left it that aspect we're going to be discussing later. We're hoping to afterwards develop another project that takes things a step further. We're going to be working on that. But what I can say is that the situation of women in Senegal and opening up to many sub-Saharan African countries based on the roundtable we had here at the launch a year ago is completely different than for women in Europe. They're not, it's continuing in research. Their research careers get huge interruptions based on, for example, a relative dies, like a father dies. So the woman has to take time out, go to the village, has to go into mourning, develop the wake and everything. It's a whole period that they have to be out. When they get married, and they get married young, there's the family obligations to be able. So women have huge gaps in their research career and their progression because of the familial and social obligations laid upon them in the Senegalese culture and society. And one of the things they've been mentioning is that in order to progress in the research career, for example, so they have their accreditation systems, and it's things like, okay, well, to get from level 2 to level 3, you have to have published this much in the last 5 years. And the women are saying, yes, but men don't take time off in the 5 years. Women have to because of this. So maybe for women, it should be expanded to a bit wider period, or it could be 5 years, but let's not count those 6 months that they were out because they had to be caring for their mother-in-law or so on. So they're at the level of entrepreneurship, it's not taking much place at universities yet. It's more just women trying to make a living and working out. And so one of the things that we're trying to develop and work with them is trying to get the women academics, the academics university, to work with these women entrepreneurs, to help develop research and collaborate jointly, to be able to see also how research results can start leading to entrepreneurial ventures and so on. But yeah, the idea of going on with knowledge transfer and spin-offs and development is something we'll be looking to further develop in the next, I would say, the follow-up project, hopefully.
Okay,
it's something we've developed a lot in many other projects and in other countries. But in the scope of this project, we realized that we needed, if we were going to work on that, it would just be, covering the basics and.
Yeah, and I guess you don't want to spread yourself too thin as such. If you're going to do something, do it as well as you can.
That's going to have a real impact. Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, that's really interesting.
But
Thank you.
Yeah, it's good to know if you're interested. I mean, it definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
Because for future initiatives, I mean, it would be great to bring in another partnership, especially if you're working in the private sector.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting for us as well because to date, we don't have any sort of actual track record investing in the African continent, but we have other partners, organizations that I do know who are kind of specialized there. So again, just in terms of being able to put you in contact with people that may be of interest and things like that, I think it's an area that we're obviously interested in, and potential collaborations here are always great. So yeah, well, it's really cool work that you're doing. So thank you for sharing it.
It's good to hear. So like I said, at the moment, we're not impulsing the entrepreneurship based on research results, but we are trying to get the universities to work with the local environment and entrepreneurs and help them develop. We actually have another project in Sierra Leone that's starting 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, no, 3 weeks ago, that is about entrepreneurship. And it's about entrepreneurship pedagogy and learning. And so in that project, one of the actions we're going to be developing or working with our partners in Freetown is to have them work with the entrepreneurs, women entrepreneurs and girls, especially based in the markets of Freetown and other areas, to help to really train them and provide them support to be able to fully develop a business. So, I mean, entrepreneurship is one of the strong points of the University of Alicante, both at the research-based and with the side of supporting students. So, as I said, we were hoping to develop it more with Elevate Her project. We decided that we were going to put the focus on something else, but that is the priority of a project that we have now in Sierra Leone and others. So, I think we could definitely have some good opportunities there.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Okay.
So if there are no more questions, I think that's it. Tamer, back to you.
I think I had this question, but already Cristina answered it about the reason of this problem. So you highlighted this is like social, like, you know, the woman in Senegal has like other duties related to family and society. But do you think this is the only reason, or there is other reasons? Of course, also highlight the legal aspect, like, you know, the commission to hire professors, for example, also need to spend how many years, and you have how many publication, and this can be a big barrier for women. And of course, if you are not professor, you can't go to the leadership position, because leadership position, you have to be a professor to be there. So I think it's like, as you said, mainly it's social, but it has also like legal component as well. So
yes, it's one of the points that we were discussing at the workshops in December, the sessions we had about leadership and skills with the women when we were in Senegal, that because of the current rules and policies on how to progress and how to get the leader positions and how to lead projects, that because of the women's limitations, the social conditions, they couldn't even present with that because of the time out that they had for social reasons. And that's just one of the challenges that they have there that, for example, we don't have in Europe. There's the additional challenges of maybe not being included in research teams or not being able, but for example, unless they're senior researchers, they're not even allowed to present a research proposal to get a grant. Only a senior researcher can ask for funding to lead a project. And it's almost impossible to get to that position of senior researcher. So that's why we'll also be working at the institutional level to really talk with the universities, develop policies. And that's why we're already thinking of the next phase of taking it bigger and trying to establish a dialogue at the government level. So these are things we're going to be working towards over the next 2 years.
Okay, I think there is a problem happening here. Cristina.
Okay, sorry. It's a good thing we have 2 computers. Ellen's battery has died.
Sorry.
Yep. So we have backup.
We have a backup. But yes, I was saying that's why that we've really want to take this step further, but we still come to the end of the day that there's only so much that we can do on our side, that we can do with these EU. These EU grants are very small. I mean, this project itself is 400,000 euros. And a lot of that gets spent in travel and using tools, and they don't cover much in terms of budget. So what we hope to do with these projects is get the ball rolling, get things that at least work at a sound level, get a sound foundation, and get enough people enthusiastic about it and committed to it so that when the project is over, they keep working and fighting. And one of the things that came up, one of the conclusions that came up from our workshop in December was that the women in Senegal need to get together and work together and forget about things like hierarchy, because there's also, it's a very hierarchical society, both in society in general, but especially in academia. So, and we had in our workshop, we had some undergraduate students, doctoral students, and women professors from different levels. And like some of the younger girls was like, I can't believe I'm here sitting next to Madame and having a vous-à-vous conversation with her face to face. And that's what they were saying, that they're like, no, that the women need to make a better effort of supporting each other. And as we say in Spain, haciendo piña, you know, coming together as a pine and working together and developing. So what we hope to achieve in the project, in addition to, well, at least training a good cohort of women who can carry this work forward, is to change that mindset and really get in this tradition of supporting each other. And then, you know, hopefully we'll continue forward going on, supporting that. Our aim is that at least in these 3 years, we get a solid basis going. And after that, well, you know, it depends on who wants to give us money to continue. Hopefully the EU or our local government. Yeah, I see there's more hands raised.
Yeah, I think there is Antonio, you have something?
Hello, Cristina. How are you? Excellent talking about gender and this project. My question has to do with the projects that you mentioned about when you talk about soft skills and you talk about different workshops that you carry out in terms of leadership. Have you found any shocking contents or any shocking learning when you start explaining any kind of soft skills, basically leaderships, and they can understand other things? I mean, when you start something that is very general, it's in general contents in books or on websites, and the people from Senegal say, well, this is good, they understood very well because of, but it never carry out in my country because of this or whatever it is. So you can mention any problems, any cons about it when it comes to explaining soft skills?
No, not particularly. And differences are things that can be done. It was more having to do with the challenges women face and having to, you know, find a way to work within their own environment and with the challenges they face. When it comes to any of the soft skills, it's more like there are other things that we might not need to develop so much in Europe. You know, what in Spain we call mano izquierda, that many women, especially my mother's generation, had to develop when you have in a very masculine society with the dominance of men and women taking a secondary role. Historically, women have learned how to manipulate men very, very well, with men not noticing. So that, for example, is a soft skill that in Europe is no longer particularly required, and most people don't know about and don't even think about it, but that women in Senegal or other countries that are male dominated have to know how to develop. They have to know how to consider how women view men view them, their situations, and able to find way to present things so that the men will understand, because it's more a fact of the men not understanding what the issue is. We were lucky enough to have 3 men who participated in the workshop, including one who was a senior researcher, and discussing and things like, yeah, no, one of them was kind of like playing devil's advocate. It's like, wait a minute, I don't agree with what this is. What you're saying, it's not, if women can continue, they're like, dude, what world do you live in? No, they can't. This is not the woman's decision, that they don't have to stay home and take care of the kids. And it's like, you try telling that to your mother-in-law. The women were all up in arms at him saying, what world do you live in? You're completely blind to your own society. And there was another one who was there, like, I hadn't thought of that. I hadn't realized that we can do. And so it's also more effective of the soft skill that they have to learn how to talk to men in the sense that to gain them as allies. Like the movement we had in Europe and with the whole Me Too movement came also the he for she movement globally with hashtag. And so it's more of an this additional skill of learning how to, speak to the men and and get them understand and gain allies. So it's more that there's other soft skills they have to develop that we don't need to. Oh, that would probably help a lot of women in Europe, but they don't know about it. Mediterranean women all know these skills.
Thank you, Cristina.
Rory, did you have another question, or was your hand up from earlier?
My hand is up. It's refusing to let me down, to put it down. So that was from earlier. Thank you.
If there is no question, maybe I can jump. You allow me, Elaine, to jump here?
Sorry, Tamit?
You allow me to jump here, like to conclude the session?
Yes, please go ahead.
Good, thank you very much. So I really would like to thank very much Cristina for this inspired session. And again, it shows a great synergy between what we are doing in Inspiring the Mind and other ongoing projects at Alicante and at other partner institutes. And I would like to thank very much Rory and our colleagues from Alicante to organizing this. And I think next session is on the 20th of February. So in a week from now, I think next Thursday or so, 20th of February with Rosabella. And we are not far away, actually. We are going to discuss the hyper teaching in STEAM field. So this is actually the second component of Inspiring the Mind. So Inspiring the Mind, as you know, we have this inclusivity and diversity component, but also we have the second component, how we can develop new teaching methods that can attract students and that can build capacity and build knowledge at our students. So I hope to see all of you in a week from now. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Stefan, everybody. Have a nice day.
Thanks all. Thanks very much, Cristina.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Bye.
much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sophie.
Stop recording.
Stop recording first.